Alrighty, so we have a few more people joining, but we will make a start and go through the intro as folks are joining us. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Meredith Henson and I am joined by the sensational Matt Lineker. Hi, Matt.
Hello, Meredith, and hi everyone who's just joining today.
Welcome. So today's session is going to be around increasing engagement with the centralized notification system across the Total Talent Experience platform. Now, just a few bits and pieces before we get started. So today is going to be just a few slides. I've kept it very light. Most of these you probably won't even see, are just to remind me, but primarily a demo. So, excuse me, Mr. Paul, you are in the way. So primarily we're going to be going up to my demo site and I'll be talking through the notifications on screen. Questions are very welcome. Please post those into the Q&A function of Zoom. That way that Matt can see what questions we've answered and not answered. And if there's anything I can't answer at the time, we can come back to it. So please post questions in Q&A. Everything else, general chat, any comments, and if Matt, and I like to surprise him with a link, asking him to post a link in chat. I don't know how I'm going to come up with one today, but we'll see. They will all be in the chat, and Matt will be looking after me and you and everyone here in the chat. So if you do have anything, please pop in there. We are recording today's session and we will be making the recording available via the Total community. You'll be able to find that the next day or two in the webinars on demand section of the Total community. Alrighty, so thank you for everyone who has completed the poll. It looks like the majority of folks that are on the call today are existing Total users. We've got a couple of people that are potential Total users, so some folks not currently using Total, welcome. We've got a good number of Total partners, so welcome. We've got just one, although I think that might not be quite true. I think I saw another name I recognised of my lovely colleagues from Total Learning, and miscellaneous international person of mystery as well. So welcome everyone. Let me now close that poll. Alrighty, Matt, before I get started, anything I need to know?
I can't think of anything but jokes, so there's nothing you need to know at the moment.
I think I might need to know those jokes.
I don't think you do.
Okay, you're probably right. Alrighty, so as I say, today's session is going to be around the centralized notification system. I'm going to be demoing across my version 16 of the full talent experience platform. So that's Total Learn, our learning management system, Total Engage, our learner experience platform, and Total Perform, our performance management system. And as you'll see across the centralized notifications, there's some that apply to each of these products. Whether you're using 1, 2, or 3 of these products, that's fine. The notifications is still consistent across them in terms of the interface and the functionality. And as you might add a product, you'll see new options available. And as Sam, I'm going to be on version 16, which is the latest release of the Total Talent Experience platform. Okie dokie. Yeah, every now and again, I'm just going to pause. I have a hymns today, so that's me just clearing my throat. Don't panic that I've lost internet connection again. Okay, so what are the centralized notifications? So they are an admin piece of functionality within the Total platform, which provides a central location for creating and editing system-wide notification defaults. Now that's a lot of words. I'll show you in a minute what that means, but what the functionality to offer, it means that you can create at the site level or the system level, which notification types are going to be available to the other administrators and other users across the site. And it will set the default content and the default delivery channel for those notifications. You can enable and disable different notifications. If they're disabled at the system level, then they won't be available at lower contexts. So for example, program notifications, you can set a system-wide notification for a program and then edit it specifically locally or within that program context. And I'll demonstrate what I mean by that in a moment. They are event or trigger based. So on a certain event, then they can be sent. If that has an absolute date, then it can be before or after that date as well. There, excuse me, I didn't quite get to the mute on that one. There are multiple delivery channels, which means that those notifications can be sent and received in a variety of ways. And you can choose who receives these notifications. The notifications or these messages can be built through a mix of text and placeholders, which will replace, a placeholder saying maybe first name with someone's name, like Matt or Iris or Meredith. They can be created and have multiple translations, so it supports multiple languages. And as I say, they can be customized locally. And users themselves can choose how they receive those notifications to an extent with some limitations. So let me get out of the screen here. Stop. Right. So you should now be seeing my demo site. Is that what you're seeing there, Matt?
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. Hopefully everyone else is also seeing that.
Not just you. Okay. Yeah. Alrighty. So I'm logged in as an administrator, and I'm going to head over to my centralized notification area, which sits here in this notifications area. Now, just before I get started and start expanding menus, just to let you know that one of the benefits of having the centralized notification system, not only is it all in one place, it also provides a very consistent user experience, particularly for admins who have a lot to do across a system as robust and as configurable as the Total Talent Experience platform. Now, as we, Total Learning, develop new features or update other pieces of functionality, we'll be looking at moving any messages or notifications that are sent by them into this notifications area. So the list of notifications that you see now will shift and change over time as we make new releases. For example, we've got version 17 coming up in a few months' time. And we are working on some notifications around the Total Performance Management System, Total Perform, and adding them to this notifications area. And we're hoping that will drop for 17, but that's what we're working on at the moment. So as we develop and change, we'll see some updates to this area. But what we do have is the core notifications where most of the notifications that are sent by the system are driven by, so programs and seminars or courses, etc. So let's take a look. So I'm going to start with course activities because there's just one little, not very scary at all, notification here. If I open them up, there's quite a lot on screen. So what we can do here is create a notification based when a learner completes an activity. And as I expand this out, I can see that there aren't any current notifications around that. Otherwise, it would show that. And I can create a new one, or I can go through and I can create through this elliptical as well. So there's two options on how you can create. And you can see here, I can give this notification a specific name. And this is particularly for administrators, so they know what notifications are being sent from the system and what they're for. So you can keep that reasonably short but descriptive, just so someone doesn't create a duplicate notification. So I'm just going to write an example here. And then we can choose the recipient. So in this case, because we're talking about a learner completing an activity, the subject would be that learner who's completed that activity, or in this case, their manager. So I can choose the subject, and I can create another. This might be for the subject message. Oh gosh, we're going to be watching Meredith type today. So this could be for the subject, and then there could be another one for the manager. And you can see, because it's an actual date, before, we don't know when they're going to complete the activity, so we can't say after, but we can say on the day or X days after they've completed that activity. And you can see that there is a range of delivery channels here. So they can receive a notification through the site, which pops up here. You can see I've got this little bell with 48 on the top of it. That's a system notification. If I've got my mobile app connected to my Total site and the app downloaded on my phone, then I can receive a push notification to my phone. There are tasks and alerts depending on the type of notification that can be pushed through to, say, a dashboard. I can receive it by email, or it can be sent to my Totara Teams chat through my Totara app. Or you could send it through a variety of means. And we'll see in a moment that every individual on the site, unless it's forced, in this case, I don't want to force everyone to receive this in multiple versions, then they can choose how they receive all these different types of notifications. So they've got a degree of personalization across the site so that they can receive these notifications in the format or the formats that they choose. Then I've got a subject line and a body text. And so I can say completers completed an activity could be congratulations on completing. Woo. And then I can add in what are called placeholders. And I've just typed a square bracket here, and that's brought up a list of all of the placeholders that I can add. So if I had activity name, for example, I can just type in AC and it's going to shorten that. And I can pop that in. And when that message is sent, then it will default to saying, congratulations on completing, assessment 1 or quiz 12. I also have the ability to add these placeholders in the body. So I can say hi, and then put square brackets, first name, and it's to maybe the recipient, or it could be the subject in this case. Congratulations on congratulations on completing this particular activity. And if you've got languages installed, then you can use this little magic button here and have different translations. So I would put the translations into this box here and say, use the same functionality. I'm just going to shorten this. First name, and select it and add my translation there. If it was French or English or Spanish, I can enter in that language code. What that will mean is I put in the translation into this box here, and if the individual or the recipient has in this case Spanish selected as their preferred language, they'll receive this version of the notification. If they've got it selected as French, they'll have the French translated, etc., etc. So it means that you've got a lot of flexibility around creating these notifications, and then a lot of options around how you send them. So let's talk through a little around that. Now, I have just seen a raised hand. Matt, is there any questions or anything I need to know there?
Just highlighting in the chat that some of the questions might get answered as we go through the session today, but also it's still great to ask them. So it could be that some of the answers we're going to look at that shortly, but I could run through a few questions now if that's okay with you.
Yeah, go for
it. So how many languages can you add to one notification?
There shouldn't be a limit. It will start to get complicated, but in terms of adding the translations.
And Lynn is asking, do these placeholders also work in other languages, e.g. when the preferred language of an admin is French?
Yeah. So it will, it's not going to translate names, but it will translate any text that is related. So if they've entered in España instead of Spain as their country, then it will translate fine.
And when you modify something in one language, will the other languages remain default?
Remain default. I'm not sure what that means, but I will say if you edit each of these notifications, when you have different translations, if you change one, you'll need to change them all if you want to keep them consistent. But it won't if you have Spanish here and you make it a change. Obviously that's not Spanish, and if you want to have a different set of text or make a change to the French, you'll have to go in and make that change as well. There's no automatic translation.
Thanks, Meredith. Do you want a couple more now?
Yeah, sure.
Can we work with HTML in this editor?
No, there's the short answer. There are limited editing options here. That's so that those push notifications sent to mobile will come through okay and won't mess up any formatting. So we've designed this text to be mobile first. You can, of course, add HTML headers and footers to emails through the appearance settings and the theme settings as an administrator if you want to add a little wrapping around these notifications.
Okay, I think you might come to this shortly, but a question. With the delivery channel, is there a list with all the possible notifications available and how they can be sent, i.e. can some be sent via the site or email, etc.?
Yeah, well, kind of. So thank you for that question. So the notifications that you see, sorry, the delivery channels that you see on screen right now are all of the current delivery channels that are available across TOSHA. When you look at the summary here of all of the notifications, this at the site level, you'll see what the default delivery channels are at the system level. And that reason I thank you for that question, because then it pushes me to go to how a user selects how they receive these notifications, which might be really what the question's about. So now we've had a look a little bit in terms of how you might create them and edit them, and noting that you can enable and disable them. If they're disabled at the system level, they're not available at any other lower context. Then if I go in as a user, and the options I see here, even as an admin user, are the same as I would as a standard user, I can go here to my notifications preferences, and you'll see that there's a similar interface than what we just saw, which has all of the notifications that I might receive as an individual, as a learner, as a user across the site. And I can choose how I receive those. So if I, for example, we'll just pick this one here, I can go through and see how this is received. Currently it's email, but I can always change that and choose how I receive all those notifications. So an individual can go and see a list of all the notifications that are sent through the centralized notification system and choose how they receive it. Likewise, an administrator can, within the centralized system, go through and choose how those notifications may be sent or may be received. If that did not answer your question, please post another to clarify. Matt, is that it for now?
There's lots of questions. So we could do some more, or we could keep going and hopefully we'll answer some and then we come back to some more questions.
Yeah, let's come back to some, and yeah, that's a good call. So let's jump back to the notification system and talk about rather the functionality behind it. And Matt, maybe if you haven't done so already, a link to the Academy content that might help, and any help documentation around the notification system, please. Okay, so I'm back as an administrator, and I say it looks quite similar, but I am in the notifications area here. And I want to talk through how some of these notifications might be used. You might not have thought of them, or you might not be in a position yet or you might not have been in a position to configure them. But maybe now that you are on the latest release, you can start leveraging them to start encouraging and engaging your learners. So let's start with course activities again. So we talked about learner completing an activity. Now that might be an email or a task or a site notification to say, hey, well done, you've completed that activity. Remembering that an activity in a course might be a really big activity, a really significant one. It might be, you know, a 5-day seminar. It might be a quiz that means that they pass an entire, you know, the last quiz of an entire program. It could be a really difficult SCORM activity. So you can pick and choose as a course manager within your course, whether you send this or not, but it does acknowledge an individual's effort. You may also trigger a message to their manager and say, hey, this person has completed this activity. You might want to, you know, give them a pat on the back or say, well done, or, you know, consider what that means for that individual. You might even consider, once an individual has completed one activity, is engaging them and saying, hey, well done, you've completed this. This is what's next. You need to go through and now you can enroll on that other seminar, or now you can download your certificate, or here's some additional learning if you want to know a little bit more around that subject. So you can offer that what's next or that additional or linked learning with that learner has completed an activity. Okay. Moving on to course, I'm going to try and keep the screen nice and tidy by collapsing everything here. There are also four triggers around notifications for courses. So a learner is enrolled in a course, the course is due, the learner has completed the course, or the learner has unenrolled from course. So you can see as I span these out, we haven't actually created any. But for example, when a learner first enrolls in a course, you might consider sending a message going, hey, welcome, this is where to start, this is how to start, particularly for people that are maybe just going through their onboarding course, and it's the very first course. They might be unfamiliar with using Totara or any learning management system, and they might be a little bit overwhelmed and just like, okay, here's how to start, click on this link and start at the top of the screen and work down, or click the big welcome image and go to your first forum. So you can give them some help on where to start and how to kick off their learning. You might also use that learner enrolled in course notification to send something around expectation management. So what's required of them on this course, what they can expect from the course, and maybe what they can expect from the course manager or the trainer, what they can ask for, how they can get additional support if they need it. When it comes to maybe this course due date trigger, you might be using them to have paced encouragement or keeping on track. So, hey, now it's 30 days before the course is due. You should be on topic 8 by now. And likewise, you can do the same thing with the learner is enrolled in course. So a week after they've enrolled in the course, hey, welcome to, you've done your first week. This is what you should have done by now, or this is what you should be aiming for next week, or both of those things. And we've got the learner completed course, and again, offering congratulations on completion, offering encouragement. Again, you can push to the manager and, hey, this individual has completed this course, it's quite difficult to pass. You might give them an extra long lunch or something. It might also be on completion. It might be a trigger to say, here's some, here's what's next. Here's the next course to do. Or if you've enjoyed what you've learned here, or you've done some additional learning, why not share it across a resource and engage? Why not go to this workspace and share what you've learned or any insights that you've gathered from this course? Additionally, it could be, what's their next learning opportunity? So now you've completed this course, maybe you can enroll in this program, or where that learning might take the users. So now that you know how to, you've done your first aid training, maybe you become the first aider for your department or your team, or you get other people involved. It could be that that course is linked to some sort of competency structure. So what skills should they now demonstrate so that they can be marked as perhaps fully proficient or able to train others in that particular item? It might be a reminder to download their badge or their personalized certificate. And for example, if the learner unenrolls from the course, it could be for, maybe an encouragement to enroll in an alternative course, or ask them to complete some feedback on why they unenrolled. It might be identifying a problem with the course, a problem with the trainer. It could be a problem with their expectations around what was required from them within that course. So on course and activity notifications, as I said, I was talking about these contexts. So let me show you what I mean by that. So I'm at the system level, I'm in the centralized notification system, and I can set the default content for these types of notifications, but these might not suit every course. So I'm going to, if Zoom would just pop out of the way there we go. If I go into a course, you'll see, because I'm logged in as an administrator, but the same thing for an editing trainer, I now, under this administration area, have notifications. And because those notifications are enabled at the site level, I can enable them and use them at this course level. So I might create a default welcome message as a particular trainer. So it's got my, not signature exactly, but my signed off by, great to have you on board, thanks Meredith. Or it could be from the trainer or multiple trainers, because you can tailor it at a specific activity. So if I go into a particular activity, so let's say this quiz, again, under the administration area, I have notifications. And I have the ability to create a notification specifically for this activity, this quiz called Totara quiz. And it could be, again, that this quiz means that you've passed something really difficult, or you can provide very, very tailored information on this notification. So great that you completed this quiz, 96% of people don't pass or something relevant to them. But it also gives you an opportunity to build in some gamification. So you might give them a link or an access code to a hidden activity or a hidden course or an enrollment key into an entirely different course. So you've got a lot of options and customizations and personalizations across these different course and activity notifications. And that's what I meant by context. We have the system context, the course context, and then the activity context. So it does filter down. Okay, Matt, any questions about what we've just covered?
We get lots of questions, so it might be good to go through and then we'll go through all these questions, I think.
Okay, as I take your guidance. Right, so moving on to seminar notifications. So there are a lot of these, which is why I didn't open that to start with. And again, you might choose to turn off a bunch of these and only use the core ones, and then gradually as your notifications skills or confidence grows, or as things change across your organization, you can then re-enable them. But you can see there's things like your booking is confirmed. And in this example here, we've got some notifications that are already built. So what we have is this type, and we can either have custom or factory. And factory means that by default, the system, we've created the system to roll out where it does confirm a booking. So that's basically a default a notification. So we've created that as part of Totara, but you can go in and you can edit that as you so wish. So you can see as I click on it, it's got a title, we've got some recipients, and it's already got some placeholders in there. But I can then tailor that to my requirements. And for those of you that have been using Totara in earlier versions, this is a migration of all of the seminar notifications from the old seminar dedicated spot and move them over to the central area. So again, you don't have that sort of split of notifications or messages in different places. You can continue to use the legacy seminar notifications, or you can opt to move it here. There will be a little bit of setup, but you'll find after that setup, two benefits. One, it will be easy to maintain, and two, it serves as a bit of an audit so that you can make sure what you're using before was actually fit for purpose, or if there are any improvements that you might make to it. So on seminar notifications, it can be reminders that an individual is booked on an event, and that's really important for not just the learner, but the manager. If their staff member has booked, 2-3 months in advance and then doesn't show up for work that day because at that event the manager has forgotten, then it serves as a reminder. It's like, don't forget that, Lee is on an event this week, so don't expect him to be in the office. You can also use this to set expectations again. So expectations for the session. So what they need to bring, how they need to behave, what happens if they're running late, all of those things. Also follow up after session. So after a session has finished, thank you for attending. Here's what to do next. Here's how to rebook if you weren't able to make it. Notifications of changes to a session or changes to a facilitator. It could be that the event has to move physical rooms or locations for a reason, and suddenly someone can't make it. So they're given plenty of notice to make that change and then rebook as required. And it could be that the seminar activity is a requirement before you do something else. So it could be now you've done the seminar, you can complete the quiz, or you can do your SCORM activity, or maybe there's some hands-on demonstration related to your competencies or competency profile that you need to demonstrate as a result. So it can trigger that what's next, what's now due, and just general engagement across that. And rounding out, let's close that again. We've got programs and certifications. Now these are very similar, as you'd expect, because certifications and programs are very similar. So things like you're assigned, it's completed, it's due. And particularly because a learner doesn't enroll themselves typically in a program, an alert to say that you've been assigned into a program or a certification is really important. sends for reminders for completion. Very important if perhaps the program's around onboarding and people need those prompts and those reminders, because there's a lot happening when someone is onboarding. There's a lot coming at them. Also very important where it comes to certification that's tied to compliance or even safety. If the individual fails to recertify, they might need to be moved, for example, off the factory floor, off the warehouse floor, because they are not safe, they're not compliant, they could risk hurting themselves. So you can send that to the manager as well, so they know what's happening. And because programs and certifications, particularly programs and how they tend to be used, are usually a large chunk of training, the what's next becomes really important here. It could be, you've now done the management program, you're ready to start managing a team, you're ready for a new job, you've got a promotion in the wings. So the what's next and what happens after you complete these things is really important, and you can communicate all of these things through these notifications. Also, for example, in programs, if something's due, you might have to ask for an extension and maybe setting some expectations on how you do that, what email, who you need to contact to get an extension, that type of thing can be communicated through these program notifications. And because they can be pre-built and pre-timed, so for example, if I go course set due, you can see because we know the date and there's a period before it, we've got at the time, before the time, and after the time. So we can say, all right, you're 2 days late on that course, you're 5 days late, this is what you need to do. That's maybe a point where it starts becoming escalated to their manager. It gives them a lot of opportunity to engage and re-engage in their training. Another thing with programs and certifications is that on completion, they might be added to a particular audience, and that might give them access to other areas or items, and letting them know that that might happen. So maybe now that they've completed their first aid certificate, they're going to be added to an Engage workspace, or they have a different dashboard available to them. And also even across all of these things, a reminder perhaps to think about mentioning this on their next performance activity and the next one-to-one with their manager. I've completed this course, I've completed my certification, I'm halfway through or 3/4 of the way through my program. And finally, as I mentioned, workspaces. For those that aren't aware, workspaces are a collaborative communication spaces that sit, let the seagulls say hi, that sit within Total Engage, our learner experience platform. So just tidy up that screen. So a workspace, you can normally get it through here, this collaborate area. And when a user is added to a workspace, you can prompt them through this message to go, hey, why not introduce yourself in the discussion? Why don't you share some resources that you've created, maybe based on the learning that you just completed? Why don't you comment, like, and rate the content that's already there, and generally engage with both the members of that workspace and the content itself. And you can see some really great examples of workspaces across the Total community. There are workspaces on compliance or onboarding with Total, or creating courses. So have a look through those. It's a great way to connect to other users within Total. We use it ourselves internally, and it's proven to be a really excellent tool to help with that engagement, and just help generally get to know the people that you're working with. Okay, so I've got my fabulous question slide I can launch here, so we can all look at some very nice green, well, Matt fires what looks like quite a few questions at me.
So thanks everyone for coming for the webinar today. That's all the end of the presentation, but we're going to go through some questions now. So also, if you do have to leave at this point, you can do, and you can always listen to the answers afterwards. And thanks for coming, if that's the case. But if you have your own questions, feel free to ask them now, and we'll try and answer them as best we can. So Jennifer from Shimano is asking, will you show how to customize the appearance, for example, add headers and logos, for example? Not sure if that's possible.
Well, yes, we could do. I'll show you where you can do it. My HTML skills are 0, so one will have to use one's imagination. But where you can do that is under your admin, under appearance, under themes. If you're using Tenant, you do it within this edit area. If you're looking at the site level, if you go to edit site brand, and under this a beautiful logo here, if you go under email notifications here, you can add a header and a footer in an HTML or plain text footer. So there you go. This obviously does not work, so I will delete it. But that's where you have someone far smarter at HTML than I. Then you can add in your some colors, a banner, an image, links as you like, just by dropping in that HTML.
Brilliant. Jennifer said awesome. So that is good.
Thanks, Jennifer. Great to have you here.
I knew we could get that first question done well. All right.
Thanks. We need to end on a high too, just so you know.
But yeah, like I say as well, we can post some questions in, because when we post this work, so this webinar on demand, there's also a section in the comments where you can ask questions. So we can continue the conversation in there. So I can see there's quite a lot of questions, but okay, let's go for another one.
You're scaring me.
So basic questions: will HTML be added in the future for this editor, for example?
At this stage, because it's designed to be mobile friendly and be received by lots of different notifications, we've kept it as this kind of almost like a rich text at this stage. So at this point, we haven't planned on it, just because the difficulties in translating that across all the different ways it can be received, including how it would be rendered across Teams. What you see is the current format.
Thanks, Meredith. One question is, would it be possible to send a notification if something is not completed? For example, if a course is not completed, also make it reoccurring instead of creating separate triggers after 10 days.
Well, what you could do is, in that example there, you could say after the course is due. So if it's not, it'll only be, let me try that again. So if the individual hasn't completed the course by the due date, then they will be a recipient or potential recipient for a course due date notification. So they'll only receive this if they haven't completed it. And in that case, you could then set it so, 6 days, 7 days after that due date or that end date. If they haven't completed it, then you could send that notification.
Great, thanks, Meredith. Question from Helen: can only learners and their managers get notifications? We have other types of users such as markers. Can they get notifications, i.e. when quizzes are completed?
So let me, gosh, I've got ahead myself, answered like 7 questions in my head. So in Seminar, there are different types. For example, let me see, I think there's a third party when it comes to or facilitator. So in Seminar, for example, this is because it's a standard thing, I've got a few different options. So I've got, as well as a subject and potentially a manager, the facilitator and any third parties. So that's within Seminar specifically. So if you've got an external training agency. So there are different types, but it depends on the type of notification. Within a course, you'll see that it's just subject and manager. As well. Oops, let's do this one. Just mix it up. So yeah, subject and manager at the course level as well. And again, this is one of the beautiful things about the Totara platform, is that you can work with your Totara partner to add in different recipients. So you have the opportunity to customize that to your requirements. So loving the idea of a specific quiz marker, that would be something that you could talk with your partner in terms of adding a new recipient type for.
Thanks, Meredith. Can we send a notification to anyone who is marked as a no-show, for example?
Yeah, goodness, go back. I feel like I'm chasing myself here. So there are messages within the seminar activity itself. So that would be where, if I go into the seminar, because that relies on people being marked. So if I go into, do I have a seminar? Oh, I do, how handy. You'll see when I create an event or have a past event. Let's go to details. There is this message users functionality here. And this is where you can have the different recipient groups. So within a specific seminar, based on different criteria and no-show or their attendance status rather would be displayed here if this particular seminar that I'm looking at had that. In this case, I never took attendance at that particular item. Let's see if I can find one where I did. This one looks likely. So we'll see. No, just everyone who's booked, I didn't take attendance there. But yes, the short answer is yes, you can, but in a slightly different area within these tailored messages. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Meredith. Still quite a few more. Could come back to some quite a few of them are roadmappy type questions as well.
Okay.
So we can come back to those in the on the workspace and the webinars on demand. So just for example, like old notifications remain visible at seminars, even if you've turned them off. Is that something that will be changed, for example?
Okay, that's a good question. So yeah, it's currently by default, if you are already using the seminar notifications and then upgrade, it shows. You can then turn it off, but we wanted to give people that opportunity to migrate. So they will become legacy. And at some point, if we find that people aren't using them anymore, that we might deprecate it. But by default, they're available, but you can switch them off and move formally over to the new notification system. But we're giving you that opportunity across 16 at least to migrate. One thing, the roadmap, given that we're pretty close to a release on 17, it might be probably better, rather than answering roadmap questions there, that you kind of sign up for the What's New in 17 webinar that we'll be announcing in the next few weeks or month or so. And then we can talk about exactly what's in there. Yeah, I think that might be best. Just because we're on the kind of final push in terms of Q&A, so I might not be able to share the full story of what's coming, and you might, I mean, it's always important to under promise and over deliver. So I might not mention something that you're particularly after, which happens to be in there. So let's hold off on roadmap questions at this time.
Just that last one on no-show question. Is it not automatically in the notifications?
It's not at this stage, no.
Thanks.
Hang on, that's a lie. Oh gosh. There is a specific one where you can do it. I just remembered. I just need to dig it out. So there's that notifications, or where is it? It's it's because there's quite a few of them. There's a few where I can oh, start date. I think this is one. Hooray. Okay, so there is attendance status for some of them. I think I've seen no show, but I'd have to go through all of these notifications to prove it, but you can certainly, there is attendance status on some of these things. So perhaps is probably the best answer. I can get back into and let you know which trigger it is. It's just, as you can see, there's quite a few of them. So it's difficult for me to flash it up on screen right now.
And can I give you one more question from our hardworking NHS?
Yes, absolutely. Just because it's NHS.
So from Emma Matthews, can we run a report on which notifications have been sent?
Ooh, that's an amazing question. So not yet. And I did say I was going to stay away from roadmap questions, but that is something that we're actively working on, is an audit trail around notifications. So stand by, stay tuned on that.
All right, that's a good place to
yeah, dramatic ending, isn't it? Yeah.
There's a few questions I've missed it, but I think we can come back to these people individually as well and answer them.
Okay.
So.
Okay, thank you, Matt. So thank you very much for attending. I just wanted two things before everyone runs away, although quite a few people have. We have more upcoming events. So we've got a Total Talent Experience demo on September, towards the end of September. And there is a session in early October with SPA and LearnChamp. And this big old question mark here is a prompt for you to let us know in chat if there's any particular webinars that you would like us to do. If you've got any suggestions or any ideas, please do pop them in the chat. And while you are doing that, and it wasn't meant to rhyme, but it's a happy accident, I'm going to launch a final exit poll, which is, did you find today's session useful? Again, anonymous, so please be honest. Hopefully you did find it useful. Apologies if we didn't get to your question. As Matt says, we'll follow up later. Thank you so much for attending, everyone. Thank you for your time, and thank you very much, Matt, for looking after us all.
No, thanks everyone, and yeah, apologies if we didn't get quite to a specific question, but yeah, we will come back to you on that, especially if you're a partner. And thanks very much to everyone else who's come today, and thanks for all the customers. And yeah, great. Thanks so much, Jennifer, who's also doing a great job. But it was great to talk to you recently about Shimano as well. It's great to see such great case studies coming across the Totoro network all the time. So thanks everyone for coming today.
Excellent, thank you. And I will close that poll out, and it looks like most people got some value out of it. So that's excellent news. All right, thank you, everyone. Have a great remainder of the day, and hopefully see you at another webinar soon. Thank you very much.
Bye. Oh, also, this recording will be available from today, really. So check it out on the community as well. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Lovely. Thanks, Matt. See you guys.